Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Think about that degree you currently hold, or maybe the one you're just grinding so hard to get right now. Do you honestly view that piece of paper as some kind of magical automatic ticket to a massive salary? Like, does crossing that graduation stage actually mean the hard part is over? I really want you to hold on to your honest answer here, because today we are diving headfirst into the MBA Career Ownership Workshop. We're going to completely rewire how you approach your own professional value. For literally decades, the whole narrative was exactly that, right? Your MBA was a passive guarantee. You know the drill. You go to school, snag that advanced degree, grab your diploma, and then, well, you just sit back and wait for the recruiters to literally line up at your front door. You treat graduation like it's the ultimate finish line. But here's the thing. This workshop material completely blows that outdated idea out of the water. In today's hyper-competitive world, treating your MBA like a passive guarantee is hands down the fastest way to stall your career before it even gets off the ground. Your degree isn't a finish line, guys. It's a starting block. And how you explode off that starting block, that changes absolutely everything. Which brings us right to the core theme we're unpacking today, moving from a passive guarantee to self-driven growth. The whole philosophy here is just pure empowerment. It's all about you grabbing the reins. Because let's be real, nobody's ever going to care about your career trajectory as much as you do. When you finally ditch the expectation that some massive system or university is just going to hand you a golden career on a silver platter, you completely open yourself up to the limitless potential of self-driven growth. You literally become the architect of your own success. Okay, so let's dive right into this. Section 1, Rethinking the MBA Path. To actually embody this whole ownership mindset, we have to completely, fundamentally rethink the traditional path. For generations, the roadmap was just so linear, right? And honestly, it was pretty much out of your hands once the coursework was wrapped up. You did the grueling group projects, you aced the exams, and then you just trusted the system to carry you the rest of the way. But that old way, that's what we call the placement trap. It's this total risky reliance on campus placements where you essentially outsource your ambition to a career services office. You're just sitting there waiting to be picked. The modern approach, though, is all about cultivating an ownership mindset, meaning you are absolutely not waiting for an institution to validate your worth or magically find you that perfect role. You are out there actively engineering your own opportunities. You're networking, you're building a killer personal brand, and you are creating value entirely on your own terms. Let's move on to Section 2, the expectation reality check. So the crucial point is, as much as we absolutely love talking about ambition and empowerment, there is a much heavier conflict at the absolute center of this workshop. And it's not a lack of intelligence or drive. No, it's a glaring, massive disconnect between what people want and what they're actually doing to get it. There's just this huge gap between our expectations and our daily actions. Look, it's totally natural to want a huge return on investment for an expensive, incredibly rigorous degree. Of course, you want the six-figure starting salary, the massive signing bonus, the fast track to the C-suite. But ask yourself, do your daily habits, your weekend routines, and your actual professional actions right now justify those sky-high expectations? If you're expecting top-tier money, are you consistently outputting top-tier proactive work? For a lot of folks, if we're being honest, the answer is no. And acknowledging this super uncomfortable gap is exactly why this curriculum exists in the first place. Get this, studies actually show that while 80% of graduates expect immediate leadership roles, less than 20% are out there actively networking outside their campus. 80 versus 20, the goal here isn't to make you feel guilty about your current actions, though. It's about bridging that gap, because you can't fix a misalignment if you refuse to even look at it. By putting our sky-high expectations right up against our, let's face it, sometimes lackluster daily actions, we create this necessary urgent friction. And once we clearly see that space between where we are and what we expect, well, then we're finally primed and ready for the actual solution. All right, let's bring the energy up for this next part. Section 3, the proactive income pivot. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how it completely flips the script. This isn't just about, polishing up your resume or sitting through more mock interviews. It is a massive, fundamental pivot in exactly how you generate value and income while you're navigating your early career. We call it proactive income generation. Essentially, this means creating your own self-driven revenue streams, instead of just passively waiting around for traditional employment to find you. It completely redefines what early career success even looks like. It tells us that you absolutely do not need permission, you don't need a corporate badge, and you sure don't need a formal offer letter to start making a real impact. You don't have to sit on your hands waiting for some hiring manager to suddenly realize how talented you are. You can literally go out to the market directly, prove your worth, and create your own revenue streams from scratch. So, how does this actually look in the wild? The workshop breaks this down into super practical avenues like freelancing, gig work, and part-time opportunities. Just think about it for a second. By taking on strategic freelance projects or maybe doing some high-level gig work that's actually relevant to your field, you are doing so much more than just making a little extra cash on the side. You're building a totally verifiable portfolio of real-world results. You're expanding your network with actual paying clients. And most importantly, you're proving that your MBA skills are applicable right now, today, not just at some hypothetical future date when you finally land a full-time gig. This is exactly how proactive income generation actively builds your ultimate career. Which leads us perfectly into our final segment, Section 4, the 90-day action plan. Because, let's be real, inspiration without implementation is just entertainment, right? That's exactly why this workshop demands concrete execution. You don't just walk away with a notebook stuffed with nice theories, you leave with a highly structured roadmap. Step 1 is skill mapping. You sit down and clearly identify what you actually know how to do that the market will literally pay you for right now. Step 2 is time auditing. Remember that gap we talked about between expectations and actions? Well, time auditing forces you to look at where your precious hours are actually going. Are you just doom scrolling? Are you actually building? And then step 3 is weekend upskilling and utilizing digital tools. This is the part where you leverage totally practical resources to sharpen your edge and master the very platforms that make all this freelancing and gig work possible in the first place. And this brilliantly illustrates how it all builds into a highly specific, totally actionable timeline. On day 1, you aren't waiting around for anything. You immediately conduct your skill and time audit to get a hard baseline of your assets and your actual bandwidth. Fast forward to day 30, you've identified your weak spots and you begin targeted weekend upskilling, utilizing those digital tools to make yourself incredibly marketable. And by day 90, you are out there actively executing this concrete action plan. You're pitching clients, you're securing gigs, and you're actually generating proactive income. You've literally transformed yourself from a passive waiting student into an active, aggressive market participant in just 3 short months. Look, if there is just one major takeaway I want you to remember from this whole explainer, it's this. View your degree as a foundation for self-driven growth, not a passive guarantee. Your MBA is incredible. It really is. It is a powerful, sturdy foundation. But guys, a foundation isn't a house. You still have to build the house yourself. The degree gives you the raw tools. It gives you the network, and it gives you the knowledge. But the hustle, the proactive income generation, that relentless ownership mindset, all of that has to come directly from you. So, I want to leave you with this final, critical question to ask yourself as you look at your own professional trajectory. Are you waiting for employment, or are you actively driving your own growth? The tools are all right there, the 90-day blueprint is totally clear, and the choice is 100% yours. So stop waiting to be chosen. Get out there and start building your own future. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. And man, I absolutely cannot wait to see how you take ownership of your path.